Hello, friends, and welcome to my crash course on how to write amazing copy. Now, this is a really old template. This is passed down to me from a man who generated over $60 million in online sales. Not only that, but I've coached over 260 people through this process. Um, about 70% of them actually made their first two, three, $4,000 online or more. Bottom line in this is a proven template. And I'm going to walk you through how to actually use it because, well, this is going to be a really powerful lesson that you really probably couldn't get anywhere else. The program that used to teach this is non-existent. The materials that were taught behind it are no longer sold. This is really your only chance to ever see this actually put to use. And I'm actually going to use it using a copy example of something I actually need written right now. So you're not seeing a pie in the sky stupid thing, you're actually seeing something real. Now, before you dive into this template, one thing I should probably share is that it would be really smart if you wrote a little thing about your customer avatar, spend a few minutes thinking about who the customer is, why they buy, um, what they're looking for, etc. So maybe I'll just spend like the world's quickest, dirtiest thing doing exactly that. So my ideal customer is an e-commerce website owner um, or manager. Um, they currently do email marketing um, or have it or run it. You know what I mean? They have some kind of email marketing in place and are currently not pleased with the results. Um, so that's what we know about them on the surface level. Be greater if we could dive into, okay, maybe I prefer people on Magento and Shopify. Be great if we could dive deep into um, I prefer the blue collar market um, because obviously those people are least likely to know a lot more stuff about this, and this is going to be targeted towards people who uh, maybe want to outsource this and don't want to deal with this themselves. So, generate excitement. This is the job of the headline. The headline's job is to read the whole thing. Dan Kennedy said that the headline is literally the most important part of the copy because without it, without a solid headline, nobody's going to read the damn thing, right? So, you need to have a solid headline. It's more important than the rest of the document. Um, Dan also said, spend 50% of your time on the headline and 50% on the rest. So half your time coming up with this line. Now, generate excitement. What's exciting? There's a million headline styles, the news style headline, etc. Big benefit headline, all kinds. Fear headline, question headline. Right now, I'm going to use the e-commerce owners. Oops. E-commerce owners. This what's it called? Um, Increases sales without a cart abandon sequence. Hopefully that's interesting. So show this is the body of the copy now. Show that you genuinely want to solve or handle the customer's biggest problem. Um, you know what? When this says show that you want to handle the biggest problem, first things first is we have to establish the problem. Okay. So you might want to start with saying you spending a ton of money on what do they call it? AdWords and Facebook. Tired of losing all that cash and only rescuing 3 to 5% of sales. Do you ever stare at your cart abandon sequence or your regular newsletters? and wonder if there's something you're missing, maybe some secret strategy larger sites or your competitors use to get more sales. What else is there? What other big fears do we know of these people have? What are the other big fears that we have about this whole thing? They're spending too much money. Perhaps you're worried it's taking too long. Get that initial sale from fresh prospects and cold traffic. Fear not. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Oh, come on, you. I'm just trying to cut this out here. Okay, we're going to move this down here. Next part in the process is relate to the reader. What does that mean? Fear not. I've been exactly where you're at. Now, if you're writing a whole bunch of different sales letters and articles, you can't keep using that line over and not. I've been where you're at. The transition sequence could be, it could be all kinds of things, right? It doesn't have to be that. It could be, I've been there. We're already writing. We've been there. Okay. Hey, it's midnight here. What can I say? So you could also just say, I understand how you feel, or 3 months ago I had the same problem, or we lost thousands because of this. You get the idea. But anyway, we're not going to do that today. We're going to say, if you're not, have been exactly where you're at. I was managing an e-commerce. What's that called? I was managing an e-commerce email series for a large company, and you might even want to specify the industry because specifics make things feel more realistic, right? So, tool manufacturer, online tool store, and we were only converting 3% of cart abandons to sales. Imagine how embarrassed I was. Here I am, the expert they trusted. Now, see, this is one thing you kind of do in really professional copywriting, really effective copywriting, is where you actually start to tell the story of how did you feel. Use some visual words to describe. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. They trusted me, and you build up the stress and the pressure, right? So that we can relieve that pressure. And just like telling a real story, you want to have where in a traditional story arc, you would have you establish the first character in the story, then you create conflict, then you introduce various elements, and then of course at some point you resolve the conflict and end the story. So in our case, the way to end the conflict is obviously going to be buy the product. So relate to the reader. By now they should probably totally get that, boy, have I ever been there, and it sucks not having the answer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say, now we've got the relate to the reader. I've been there. And we also need to do the hero's journey a little bit here. So as we start to do the compelling benefits and credibility. So let's do the benefits here. There's a new piece of software and some recent technology developments that allowed me to finally see what I was missing all along. Exclamation point. Typical cart abandons are unfocused. No, that's not the right word. They're not specific to the product you were browsing. Even if they were, they often get sent out late or with the wrong information. Product info. This is when I found out about browse abandons. Browse abandons don't wait for the prospect to put the product into the shopping cart. They will follow up and remind them to take action, even if they never put it into their attempt to check out. Perfect. These allow you to capture prospects earlier, give you another chance to tell your story, create more opportunities to email them without being spammy. Anyway, so this is okay. So here what we're doing is we're going to introduce the solution a little bit here, and we're going to tell them the benefits of, get more people, which obviously gives you more chances to reach prospect. Market to prospects. Anyways, so they allow you to do this, give you another chance to tell your story, create more opportunities to email them without being spammy. So now we're basically talking about this. The interesting thing is what we're doing in copyright now is we're giving away the what. I'm actually telling them exactly what to do, but I'm selling the how. I'm not going to actually tell them how to create a browse abandon. They're going to have to come to me for that. So this technology or this methodology allows me to tell them everything possible about the what. I can tell them what it is, what it does, why do it, all the 5 W's, but I'm not going to give them the how. Now let's establish the credibility. I kind of did that a little bit above when I kind of mentioned that, I had this experience. But I might say something like, after setting this up, we saw X results. In credibility, I might also just simply say, we really enjoy writing these. Customers love them. We might say, according to a recent study, if we've never done this, but we know it works and we're just following a proven methodology, we want to sell more of these, we say, according to a recent study, Return Path says blank about browse abandons. And I mean, like, quote Oprah, quote whoever you think your target audience would appreciate, or what will sound good. According to the University of Washington. Just kidding. Anyway, remove all the risks. Now, in some sales letters and products, this is literally going to be a money back guarantee. Now, we can't do that with services. This is something totally different. A risk removal does not have to be a guarantee, like a revenue guarantee or anything like that. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, wouldn't you agree that being able to market to prospects or to people before they add to the shopping cart would increase sales? There's no risk involved in testing this. The worst you lose is a bit of time. However, most clients experience great results, which makes sense. I mean, right? We're talking about pretty straightforward stuff here. Establish the value. If you only regained 5% more sales or 10% more prospects, I'm sure you'd see just how valuable over time this simple yet effective strategy would be. Wouldn't you agree? An average store doing just $50K a year would recover whatever 5% of $50K is. So 25 a year. Anyway, so ask for the order. Now this is really straightforward. I would just tell you one thing about asking for the order on anything. The magic rule of asking for the order is never say purchase, obligation, contract, agreement, etc. These are all negative words. Instead, even the word order, actually, you might want to say invest in a consulting call today. You might say give us a call. Let's see if we can set one of these up for you. And reap that 5% loss you're currently experiencing. No. Reap that 5% that's missing from your bottom line. Anyways, you get the idea. The ask for the order is to ask for the hook. And basically what we've done so far is we've gone, owie, 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 pain point, holy smokes, that really sucks. We're showing that we genuinely understand the biggest problem they have, and we want to solve it. We're relating to them and saying, hey, totally, I get this. I understand where you're at. Like, I've been in a spot where, things were not going well, and I felt how you felt. I felt embarrassed, and, I felt like I was in this position. I'm supposed to be doing this, and I'm not. And we've communicated what the solution is and what its benefits are. We've established a little bit of credibility with either a quote or a testimonial or whatever. We've done some form of a risk removal. We've done some form of a value explain. Now, obviously, you could go a bit deeper into that, but there you go. And value explain doesn't even necessarily have to be specific, measurable, tangible stuff like that. It can be intangibles. Like if you're selling art, the value might never have anything to do with that stuff. It might be, that people who hang a Picasso on the wall automatically elevate their game in the presence of other art lovers. establishing the value might literally just be, show me what this feels like when I've spent my money and why I'm going to feel like the money was, provided value to me somehow. Emotional value, cash value, time savings value, whatever. Ask for the order is really straightforward. Again, I ask you not to use the negative words, but outside of the negative words, definitely ask them to subscribe, download, call, reach out, invest, whatever. But this is a very simple template. I have some more complex templates. I have more complex headlines that I can share. Um, you know, all kinds of stuff. In fact, here's one of my fancier roadmaps where, I talk about diving into the pain, and figuring out, doing a bit of initial research and figuring out like what the big pain points for this audience are. My gosh, I'm getting old. Let's zoom in on this. 200% sounds good. There we go. Headline, make it more like an article. This still, it's funny. I wrote this article or this document literally 10 years ago. Actually, maybe even 11 years ago. And it still stands true that you want to make things feel like an article. It flies under the radar. People don't like to be sold. They don't want to be sold. I highly recommend using that process. But there's the problem right there. Inject fear. I was frustrated. I was furious. I was mad, paralyzed. I was hating it, staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning, confused, scared, whatever. Why isn't the problem solved? Here's some things that I tried to do in the past. Then mention the dramatic possible. Imagine the day that I actually set this thing up and I'm starting to see people, enter the funnel that weren't there before, whatever. I mean, I don't know. Just paint a picture for them of what life looks like with this stuff installed, with these things done, with these, changes made. Discuss what makes you different from the competition. Unique sales proposition is what USP stands for. Discuss solution you found and how well it worked for you. Make your bullets, and the bullets are really this thing I was making here. They're the benefit points. And then what should the customer do? So this is another example of one of those roadmaps that kind of establishes that. But yeah, so anyways, hopefully you found this valuable, just kind of going through this this process of establishing that that whole process there. Here's a bit of a fancier version of this worksheet as well. Here you've got list all the selling features, write down your USP, copy and paste your strongest keywords from your keyword research, write your headline and subheadline, what are the key problems you're going to solve, and then you get into the headline, the subhead, the from. Dear so-and-so, this is Dan here. I want to tell you about the problem I want to solve. I'll tell you why I've been doing this for so long. Relate to the problem, relate to the reader, explain how your product solves that, detail those benefits, state the price, pile on all the bonuses and benefits, basically prove the value of the thing. But anyways, you get the idea. There's a number of templates, but this basic one will be kind of a fail-safe, something that'll kind of work every single time, just as sort of the basic 8 elements. And the big key thing is to try not to make it feel like you're selling, but more of you're going to deliver some kind of amazing knowledge. So when you add a bunch of those credibility quotes, when you add a bunch of the benefit statements, and you really tell the what without giving away the how, you are going to create something that even if they don't plan to buy, they're going to feel like they know what a browse abandon is. They're going to understand why they need them. They're going to understand what they are, what kind of difference they make. They're going to understand who is right for them and who isn't. They're just not going to know how to do it. And that's fine, because whether they buy our course or they buy our consulting, they're going to need that part from us.